Good afternoon, welcome, and thank you very much indeed for coming to help launch the White Rose Project. And I'm delighted to see so many people here, more than we expected, more still to come. This is wonderful. I'm going to begin by saying a few words about the project, and then there will be an opportunity to view the exhibition over in the Voltaire room, and then to return to this room, room 2, for refreshments. I know that for many people here, the White Rose, its members, its endeavours, have great personal meaning, and I look forward very much to hearing your stories over a glass of something in a little while. While the history of the White Rose, or Die Weiße Rose, is well known in Germany, it is far less likely to be in the UK, and part of the aim of this project is to shed a light on this part of the German resistance. The White Rose resistance stretched far beyond Munich, but at its heart were 6 individuals: students Hans Scholl, Sophie Scholl, Christoph Probst, Alexander Schmorell and Willy Graf, and a university professor, Kurt Huber. Between 1942 and 1943, the group wrote and disseminated 6 leaflets calling on the German people to resist Nazism. They used a second-hand duplicating machine and obtained paper, envelopes, stencils and stamps, no mean feat during wartime. They distributed the leaflets by leaving them in telephone boxes, posting them to individuals, and leaving them around the university. Copies appeared in Stuttgart, Cologne, Vienna, Freiburg, Chemnitz, Hamburg, Innsbruck, and Berlin. On the 22nd of February 1943, Hans and Sophie Scholl took copies of the 6th leaflet to the University of Munich and deposited them around the atrium at the entrance to the main university building. As they were leaving, Sophie pushed a pile of leaflets off the edge of the balustrade so that they cascaded down into the empty hall below. She and Hans were spotted by a university caretaker and detained. Hans, Sophie, and Christoph Probst were tried and sentenced to death on the 22nd of February and executed by guillotine just hours after the conclusion of their trial. Alexander Schmorell, Kurt Huber, and Willy Graf were subsequently arrested, tried, and sentenced to death on the 19th of April. Schmorell and Huber were executed 3 months later, on the 13th of July, and the last of the 6, Willy Graf, was kept alive in solitary confinement and executed on the 12th of October 1943, exactly 75 years ago today. The young members of the White Rose were extraordinary in what they did, as was Huber, and reading their letters and diaries, we are confronted with deeply thoughtful and serious individuals, extremely well-read in literature and philosophy. But at the same time, they were quite ordinary students. They lived, loved, complained about their problems, went out, drank, went to lectures, and so on. They were also not without a sense of humour. For example, Hans Scholl, in a letter to his parents and sister in March 1942, wrote, "I don't know if you received my last letter, because Mother's made no mention of it. The mail I get here is very irregular. I really sympathise with the Gestapo, having to decipher all those different handwritings, some of which are highly illegible. But that's what they're paid to do, and duty is duty, gentlemen, isn't it?" One of the most persistent questions about the members of the White Rose is what motivated them to resist Nazism. We know that Hans and Sophie had been enthusiastic members of the Hitler Youth, so what made their attitudes shift? One answer may lie in the fact that they were voracious readers. Their letters and diaries make frequent mention of the books they and their friends were reading, and they sometimes read communally, reading passages aloud in turn. Our exhibition focuses on the way literature and philosophy shaped their thinking, and how this led them to use the written word, to call the German people to resist Nazism. The Scholl's reading in particular was wide and enthusiastic. Dostoevsky, Bernanos, Mann, Rilke, Heine, to name but a very few authors. By looking at what they read, we also get a valuable glimpse into the character of these young people. For example, while undertaking compulsory labour service, which she hated, Sophie commented rather disparagingly on some of the other girls who kept with them a copy of Goethe's Faust in order, as she said, to give themselves airs. It should be said that during this period, Sophie herself was alternating between Thomas Mann's Der Zauberberg, the Magic Mountain, and Augustine's Confessions, neither of which could be termed light reading. Hans, on a 3-month tour of duty at the Russian front in 1942, came firmly to reject Nazi assertions that the Russians were inferior through his encounters with ordinary people and with their literary culture. He commented in his diary in August 1942, "We Germans don't have Dostoevsky or Gogol, nor Pushkin nor Turgenev. What about Goethe and Schiller?" someone retorts. Who does? A scholar. When did you last read Goethe? Don't recall. In school or somewhere. I ask a Russian, what writers do you have? Oh, says the Russian, we have them all of them. What Russian is this? A peasant, a washerwoman, a mailman. We are extremely fortunate in Oxford to have the world-class holdings of the Taylorian Institution Library and the Bodleian Library, and where possible we have exhibited editions comparable or identical to those which the White Rose members read. And to give all this some context, we've also included information and artefacts relating to the Nazi book burnings, older examples of resistance through reading and writing, and the White Rose's legacy in literature and film. There is, of course, a great deal more to be said about the White Rose Group than can be presented in a handful of exhibition cabinets. Our aim here is to show a snapshot of their lives, their resistance activities, and their enduring legacy. The story of the White Rose is best told when the group members speak for themselves, in their private writings and in the leaflets, when they are not idealised or mythologized. There has been criticism of their youthful impetuosity. Some have questioned how much concrete change they really achieved. Nevertheless, especially for those of us who work closely day in, day out with young people, their history provides a moving and inspiring example of how it is possible to speak truth to power and how conscience and moral courage can challenge injustice. As part of the project, we're also commissioning a new translation of the White Rose leaflets to be undertaken by Oxford undergraduates, many of them here this evening. We issued a call for translators over the summer and had an extremely enthusiastic response, and I'm delighted that so many of you were able to make it. We had our first workshop together on Monday, and it immediately became clear that this was indeed a project worth pursuing. And I look forward to our continued work on the leaflets later this term. The leaflets are fascinating texts. They reflect the development of the group's approach, the changing situation as the war progressed, and draw on a range of philosophical ideas and influences. They quote Goethe, Schiller, Novalis, as well as the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu and the Old Testament. The leaflets call on the German people to open their eyes to the atrocities being committed in the name of the regime and to spread the word. As the fourth leaflet boldly declares, "We will not be silent. We are your guilty conscience. The White Rose will give you no peace." The Oxford students' translations will be published in a volume of the Taylorians' own series, along with the exhibition catalogue and essays by experts on the White Rose, the historical context, and the group's legacy. I hope to see you all back here in June 2019 to launch that volume. There are several people and organisations without whom this project would not be possible. I'd like to thank the Taylor Institution Library and the Bodleian Library, Hinksey Catholic Parish, the Faculty of Medieval and Modern Languages, the Oxford German Network and St Edmund Hall for supporting the project in various ways. Henrike Lehnermann, our Professor of Medieval German, Hildegard Kronewitter, Director of the Weiße Rose Stiftung in Munich, Kat Ketonen and the Taylorian Premises team for making the organisation so straightforward, Emma Huber, our German subject librarian, who has done all the work behind the scenes putting this exhibition together, and whose enthusiasm when I first suggested the project really spurred me on to pursue it. I'd also like to thank our student helpers. They're wearing badges. If you need anything, I direct you to them. And especially I'd like to thank Sarah Davies, one of my finalists, who has helped with curating the exhibition and with running this event. Finally, I'd like to thank my colleague, Paul Shrimpton. Paul teaches at Magdalen College School, and his most recent book, Conscience Before Conformity, explores the intellectual, cultural, and religious influences on the White Rose. Paul asked me to be part of a series of talks commemorating the first White Rose trial back in February, and it was really this that reawakened my interest in the White Rose history, an interest which began on my year abroad in 2004 when I saw Mark Watermont's film So viel Scheue die letzten Tage. I hope that this project might contribute to keeping alive the memory of the White Rose and spreading its story beyond Germany. So I'd now like to invite you to go and view the exhibition over in the Voltaire Room. Since we are so many, I'd like to ask any students in the room to hang back, and for everyone else, please, to follow Emma and our student helpers through, and then to come back into room 2 for a glass or something, and hopefully some more talk about the White Rose. Thank you.